back to another episode of JRC TV or the Learn It, Live It, Give It podcast, depending on where you are tuning in from. I'm very excited to have a very special guest join us. And as always, I'm going to give him an official bio to start with. You can see a smiling face there if you're on YouTube. Also, I'm going to give him the awesome intro from myself, but we'll start with the official bio. So Demir is the head coach and co-founder of Lifehack Bootcamp, an 8-week intensive productivity bootcamp hosted online. Lifehack Bootcamp's mission is to help people break through the barriers preventing them from their peak performance at work so that they can lead a fulfilling personal life. Before starting Lifehack Bootcamp, along with Carey, which is his wife, Demir was a technology CEO with a background in Wall Street finance and real estate. With a passion for enabling other self-starters, he is a brilliant productivity expert and known for his empowering coaching style. Demir and his wife live and advocate for the digital nomad lifestyle, living up to 3 months at a time in cities around the globe. So that is the official bio. I'm going to say this about him. As my awesome bio and little introduction, he's a really cool guy. He's a lot of fun. We've had the chance to talk, and I went through the boot camp, so I got the coaching side of him, as well as the personal side, where I've had a few phone calls, and we've had a lot of fun learning about who he is, what he's up to, his lady, and he's a really good guy. Something I pride myself is on finding people who are authentic, transparent, and real. And he gets the stamp of approval in this area. He's a non-BS kind of guy. He'll shoot you straight. He doesn't, dance around anything that needs to be called out. He will tell it to you exactly as it is, and I really appreciate that and knowledge about him. So without any further ado, welcome to JRC TV and the Learn It, Live It, Give It podcast, sir.
Thank you, man. It's great to be with you.
Well, it's good to have you. So what I'd love to know is, with this boot camp, I went through it. I had a lot of fun. I was watching the videos and watching all the different kind of cool people involved in this. I think there was a cool guy with dreads who was up to something awesome. There was a super busy professional lady who was in San Francisco running like 2 or 3 businesses, and she looked like she was so busy all the time. And what's amazing is watching some of their faces from the beginning, where they looked a little tense, a whole lot of stressed out, and like millions of things always going on in their mind at all times, to watching them at the end was remarkable. Because you saw them in control, you saw them feel strong, you saw them show up and know exactly what was going to happen, and it was like a whole new sense of calm and confidence and centeredness showed up in these people's lives. And it was really remarkable to see from a first-hand experience from my point of view. But I'm curious, that's the result that happens throughout this, and their productivity increases and they have a better life. But what brought you to even wanting to do this? It seems like an obvious question, but I don't want to assume anything. So what brought you to this? What brought you to Lifehack Bootcamp? What brought you to wanting to help others increase productivity?
Yeah, I mean, we'll come back on. I think what you just touched on is the most addictive thing. There's me as a coach and a businessman, and then there's me as just an individual, and probably one of the most addictive things in my life is that every single month we start a new boot camp and I get to see a fresh crop of people go through this transformation. And I joke with Carey that, they're so dependent on you in the beginning, and then by the end, they're like, they don't even want anything to do with you. They want to go fly out of the nest. And I get connected to them. I really, like you said, one of the guys you were talking about was Kwame, and he just went off and just started doing amazing things. And now I still, once in a while, I'll email him, Kwame, hey man, what's going on? What are you doing? He's like, Demir, I don't even have time to talk to you. I'm off doing stuff. So yeah, Lifehack Bootcamp was interesting. So it started about 10 years ago when I had my own personal revelation, like many people who've read any number of books or sort of been part of this revolution, I think, that's gone around, that people are saying, it doesn't have to be like this. Maybe I don't have to kill my body. Maybe I don't have to work 100 hours a week. Maybe my business could be more profitable while I live, a better life, right? And so, for me, like many people, it was reading, the seminal book, The 4-Hour Workweek. And, I read that book and I was almost like afraid to like hope that it was possible. Like, is this really even possible? It almost felt like I was getting like the wool pulled over my eyes. And, and I think that book really awakened in me the hunger to figure it out, to just get in the game and really figure it out. But from that point to the point where I'm at now was almost 10 years. Wow. And that's how long it took me to create the actual infrastructure in my life to get things done. And that might sound like a fancy answer, infrastructure, but it just means simply when you sit down at your desk every single day, how does that day become the day that you just rip it up and get 10x done that somebody else can get done versus not? And so Lifehack Bootcamp was the attempt to create a productivity system that was there for me every single day that would just rip it up for me.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. And what happened in that time in your life, just to give people an experience? So you sat down, you decided you wanted to create it, you wanted to rip it up, you wanted to 10x your productivity. Give us a little inside scoop on what the day-to-day was like in the beginning, in the middle, and now. Just give us the before and after, if you would say.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, in the beginning, it was sort of a disaster, right? Because...
And define disaster, because most people look at their life and they're like, well, my life isn't that bad. I mean, I sleep my 4.5 hours a night and I wake up and do my success rituals. And, I've got things going on. Oh, shit, hold on. There's a call real quick. Anyways, yeah, I'll get that done. Okay, no problem. Anyways, so I'm totally present and I love my life. Everything's great.
Yeah, so let me paint the picture. I was working 80 hours a week at a top Wall Street job. And like a lot of people who are probably too smart for their own good, I tried to start up side businesses on top of that.
Super smart.
So, I mean, just way over. We got myself way into the deep end, which can be good, as you know. Get in the deep end, challenge yourself. But I got myself to a place where I didn't know, up from down, right? I mean, I had calls coming in from the left. Things were overdue. I was trying to manage assistants in another country, which sounded so clever, but I didn't know how to manage them, and I didn't know how to get them actually working independently. So here I have thought that I'm going to have 5 assistants working for me in another country running these side businesses, and I'll be, bankrolling my Wall Street job. What it really turned out to be was I couldn't manage my own time, and then I had 5 other people to manage their time. It actually magnified my disorganization. So hiring a VA and getting all these new tech tools did what technology does. It magnified what was already there. The problem was that what was there was massive disorganization and no rational system. And so I had a real big crash and burn moment where I had to rise back from the ashes and almost resituate. So you say beginning, middle, and end. Really, there was phase 1, complete failure and blow up, and then the rebuild and the rational rebuild. And after I did that, I was able to start an app company that became one of the top 10 iTunes photo and video apps. And we ran that. It was a successful venture, and then began consulting and showing other people, mostly in the startup area, how to work more effectively as teams and leverage technology and leverage virtual assistants to get 140 hours of productivity in the 40-hour work week.
Awesome.
And then I met my team here at Lifehack Bootcamp, and all of the pieces that I felt like I was missing from creating a rational system was brought together by this super powerful team that we have at the bootcamp. And we got together and looked at each other and we're like, oh, this is what we're doing now. This is absolutely what we're doing now.
Nice. Very, very cool. Very cool. And so in this, I don't know, people watching or listening, the big question I would have for them and something to think about is what does their life look like right now? And again, if most people think, oh, I'm doing pretty good, I'd love to kind of dig in and show them the difference from your perception of pretty good versus 10x, crushing it, and just ridiculously overproductive in a great way. What is the difference there? What are the things that if they were to look at their own life right now, what are some cues that would show pretty good isn't even close to what's possible?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. When we used to market Lifehack Bootcamp as a team, we used to give people promises. We used to say, in 8 weeks, you're going to go from working 80 hours a week to 40 hours a week. And guess what the reaction was? I thought people would be overwhelmed. I thought they'd be overjoyed. They actually got really angry. They got really pissed off, and they were like, how dare you promise that to me? I know it's not possible. And the fact that you're even saying it's possible is offensive to me, and it makes me angry. We get not hate mail, but hate email. I can't believe you're promising this, And so we actually stop. That's what we do for people. We get people who work 80, 90 hours working 40 hours a week. We get moms who haven't seen their kids, in weeks, home by 5:30 to have dinner. We get people starting side businesses finally that they've just been talking about for years. So that is in fact what we do. But I've found that I can't tell people that because right now where they're sitting, they won't believe it. And so it's easier to tell somebody this. It's easier to say, what would happen if for 8 weeks you're with a group of people that didn't accept anything less than 110% of what you're capable of? And we were all over your ass. Do you believe at the end of 8 weeks that you'd be significantly better off, right? And then I allow them to play that game for 8 weeks, right? Of hardcore accountability, always extending 30 to 40% out of your comfort zone. And they find themselves in a place at 8 weeks that they never would have imagined. But I find, just the honest answer to your question, Jarek, is I try not to tell them where they're going to be because they wouldn't believe it. They really wouldn't. That's the honest truth.
That makes sense. And for those key indicators, I was trying to dig around and say, for the person who's going to come through this program, they look at their life, they're like, I'm doing good enough.
Yeah.
And good enough might mean something along the lines of, if I remember some of the people that talked about it, and even where I was, where they know tools on time management, they've read a couple books, they have their little system, they might do time blocking, and they schedule their day, whether they're eating that frog or horizontal and vertical planning or outcome purpose, things. And I'm related to some of these guys, or I know them very well, and we've interviewed them, and it's all great tools and systems.
Yeah.
I think one indicator that people might not realize is all the systems, but how well are you applying them?
Yeah.
And this is a big one for a lot of people, especially people on this podcast. Like, they'll listen in and they'll see this, and they might go, oh, I know time management. I got it. I eat the frog and do the slippery. Like, they have all the things they know. I work in my quadrants, and I aim for my zone quadrant. And these are all things people will probably laugh and go, oh, I know that one. But the truth is, in this case, it's not what you know, it's what you're applying consistently. And that was a fun piece about the boot camp that, at least in my experience, was it wasn't about teaching you 8 weeks of time management theory. It was literally saying, like, hey, I'm glad you know all that awesome stuff. High five, good for you. Make sure you high five yourself too. Now that you know it, let's put it to work. So, step one, let's get you in the motion. And something I'd be curious about, when you're helping someone to master this area of time management and get into the motion of productivity and increasing productivity, how do you know where to start?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about that. There's one underlying principle that we built the boot camp on, which is that productivity is a habit, not a learned skill.
Nice.
And so if you want to get fancy, for those people who really know the definition, it's experiential versus didactic. And didactic is just like a college class. You're sitting back, the lecture is up front, you're sitting back and learning. Now I know geometry. Anytime I need to pull off geometry, I can just do it, right? But there's so many dimensions of life. Like, think about pro sports, right? You can read as many books as you want about Michael Jordan. Your jump shot is not going to improve one bit, right? You can read as many books as you want about leadership, about Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. You're not going to be a better leader until you get out and lead. And then you think about having a relationship and romance. That's also experiential, right? You think about all these dimensions of life: generosity, leadership, sports, physicality. And it turns out that productivity is in that category where you could have read every single book. And in fact, most of our clients come to us as a last resort after they've read everything and finally realized what you and I know to be true, which is you got to practice productivity like a jump shot. I mean, it's basically, Steph Curry isn't out there just thinking about three-pointers. He's throwing them off like they're nothing. I mean, it's instinct for him because he's put so many hours of practice in. And so when people have that aha moment, productivity is not something you just shove into the prefrontal cortex part of your brain and think yourself into. It's something that you drill. So when you were in the boot camp, you knew the format. We learn a concept, and then we practice it. So every week it's theory, practice, theory, practice, theory, practice, theory, practice. So after 8 weeks, you've had 67 days approximately, which is the number of days it takes to really start forming a habit, like a jump shot, that you can you sit it down at your desk and it just happens. No thinking, no trying to work your way into it. Your productivity is a habit that just actually happens. So that's where the boot camp is fundamentally based. Like, how do we get productivity as a muscle memory in your body, in your brain?
Very cool. I dig that. So, handful of questions here. If you were to look around in society, being this is your focus, this is what you're good at. So most people, when you focus on something, you get a filter that everywhere you look, you kind of see it either happening or not happening. It's like when you go, you buy a new car, everyone has the car all of a sudden. It's like it was always there, you just didn't see it because it wasn't important. But now that you're like Mr. Productivity, I'm guessing you walk around and go visit friends at offices and you're like, oh, like little tweak here, little tweak there, and not that you're doing it to people, you just see it everywhere because you're focused on it. And I'd be curious in what you see, why is productivity in your eyes getting worse? Like what's causing that? Because people are learning more, they're training people on this. I remember when I got to university, it was one of the classes they made us take, a little short 1-day course on like planning our calendar. And I was like, well, that was cool.
Good. I'm glad that they're doing that, and you'll see. So here's you said it in the question, right? We've got more company trainings on productivity than ever, got more books than ever, more seminars than ever. Even in college, they're giving you little 1-day primers, right? That's good. There's a couple problems, right? The first problem is that the problem is outpacing the solution. So it's not like we're not trying to solve this problem. It's just that the problem's getting bigger. But what is the problem? One is, and we got to admit this to ourselves, just have a come to Jesus moment, right? Our eyes are too big. Right? Like we want everything. And we have a culture now that says you can be an entrepreneur and a super dad and a super mom and like the coolest kid on the block and throwing parties and traveling. Like you can have it all. And so, and we're challenging ourselves. We're saying, yeah, let's do this. Let's try for it. But as we keep saying that we're not going to be an expert on one thing, we're going to be an expert on everything. We're not leveling up our productivity game to accommodate that kind of baller lifestyle. Right? And so people don't recognize that the tools that got you to here are not necessarily going to get you to 10x level. And so we sort of are taking, the trike, and we're taking the trike on the interstate and just trying to bike faster on the tricycle, and the cars are zooming past us, and we're sort of saying to ourselves, why isn't this working? So that's one thing. But here's the second thing that really bugs me is that I see people, the number one thing I see that people believe is right and is totally wrong, so it's counterintuitive, is people getting lost in new technology and like the shiny new object syndrome. Oh, I've got this sitting on top of this, and I've got all these like notifications going off, and people geeking out on their productivity as if the more complicated their system is, the more productive they are, when it's the inverse. I see people using sticky notes, kicking butt every single day, and there's people having 5, 6, 70 technologies that are buried in that technology. And then finally, and the third reason is, and this is one we can all relate to, is this. We have some of the best minds in the world designing technology, software and hardware that's meant to just do one thing, which is distract us. When you think about it, your phone's job, Facebook's job, is to take you away from what you are focusing on and get you to focus on Facebook or get you to focus on a shiny notification or an app. And so their job is to get more of your eyeball away from your game onto their game. And so we're swimming upstream in a culture of distraction where there are things that are literally trying to distract us. So there's a lot of things coming at us to get us off our game.
Absolutely. We interviewed, I think it was just up, Sean Stevenson, who wrote a book called Sleep Better. And one of the big things he talks about, and I'm a huge proponent of, is turning every notification off. Anything that beeps, dings, buzzes, lights up, anything that could randomly grab my attention in any way, shape, or form, off. And unless I go to it, it doesn't exist. And it's taking back control of your life. Like there was a point in history where my wife and I talked to each other, and we're like, where did we feel the best? And we live around the world too. And it's like, remember in Costa Rica, where we had a cell phone that could call out, but no one could call us?
Yeah.
It's like, that was awesome.
That was the best.
That's the best, because we're never distracted. We get to hang out, do what we want, walk around, be with people. Like, it's amazing. And there's nothing distracting you in life. You just get to be and experience life. And so huge proponents of sometimes, like you said, it's taking away all the things that don't need to be there and only focusing on the handful of things that do, and all of a sudden your productivity, boom, shoots right up. And So
It's so true, man. It's so true.
but it's fascinating for most people trying to identify which pieces actually need to be there, and that's what I liked. Part of what you guys focus on is which pieces are critical and which pieces really just are fluff or aren't needed to increase your productivity.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing where a lot of people need help with that. And going through just a couple other questions that I'd written down here, what are some fundamental misunderstandings that you have to correct people when they start working with you, or when they start going through a boot camp, and they start looking into productivity and increasing their performance? What are some misunderstandings they have?
Yeah, I mean, this is the hardest part. I mean, the biggest thing we do in Lifehack Bootcamp is facilitate some aha moments around, like, there's what we think is common sense, and then there's like advanced common sense, right? Common sense, like, fueled by the best of what we know now. And so that journey from common sense to advanced common sense is really what we do in the boot camp. So I think people know intuitively that the first one is what I said before. People know intuitively that they're actually nerding out on new technologies as a way of procrastinating actually getting things done. Sort of already know that. There's a part of their voice that's already telling them that. They just need us to show them that that's true for them to finally say, you know what? I'm clearing the decks on the new technology. I'm actually going to go the other way. I'm going to simplify and find a system that I could run in Costa Rica on the beach, and it would be 10 times as effective as this system that's constantly buzzing and beeping, and it takes all this management, right? So that's number one.
So it would be almost in that circumstance of like doing a cleanse versus, the equivalent. It sounds like someone's coming to you saying, hey, I want to get healthier, so I'm going to start eating every healthy piece of food I can set my eyes on. So I'm going to eat every banana on the shelf. I'm going to eat all the watermelon right after that. Then I'm going to walk down the street and like, oh, vegetables, great. Give me all of them. I'm just going to eat all the vegetables as fast as I can. And it's like, well, great. You're eating healthy stuff. The problem is you're eating way too much of all of it.
Yeah.
So we need to cut it up. We need to proportion it. We need to give you the right amount at the right time in the right order. Then it's going to produce health. Just like in this case, they're saying, listen, well, don't worry. I've got my app, and I've got my buzzer on my watch, and then I've got this thing, and I've got an assistant who yells at me, and then I've got a coach, and then I've got a this, and I've got a that, and I've got a this. And you're like, whoa, dude, you need a slight cleanse to like clear some of this stuff off the plate, and let's proportion the right amount at the right time, and we'll actually get results. So,
let me layer on a different analogy that just magnifies what you're saying. If you think about your core as being like, you are the core, and everything around you, whether it's technology or employees of yours or assistants, is a magnifying glass of what's there. If you are not optimized, every single flaw, every single rotten part of the apple just gets magnified. And some of the most effective people I know are only effective as a function of working insane hours. Right? And so they think, well, I'm getting results, let's magnify. The problem is they're magnifying their demons as well as their angels. And so what we do in the first part of the boot camp is we say, let's strip all of it back to you, and until you can control your calendar, until you can always know what the next right priority is, until you can nail out work blocks like a maniac, don't expect your technology to work for you. It's going to work against you. Don't expect your assistants to be together. They're going to magnify your disorganization. Your employees are just... I get so many people saying, railing against how idiotic their employees are. And I say, I got some bad news for you, man. Everything in your company is a mirror of you right now, right? And that is a higher level of leadership that a lot of people don't want to step up to because it's really difficult to take that look inside.
Interesting. I agree with that. Real quick, I want to throw this out there for people listening. If you're interested in this Lifehack Bootcamp, if you're hearing stuff that makes sense to you and it's like, oh my gosh, that's important, and stuff like this is clicking, I think we have a special offer for people for the boot camp. And I know there's one coming up at the end or the beginning of this next upcoming month, but there's also one at the beginning of every single consecutive month.
Yep.
But we have a special offer for this one that we've put together with you, and we also have some free training that they can go check out and learn and go through to make sure it's the right fit for them. Where do they go to get this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like you said, I'm just going to repeat, every single month at the beginning of the month, we start a new boot camp, and it runs for 8 weeks, nice. Right? Then it takes about 3 hours a week. So if people are out there like, oh, 8 weeks, is this full time? Do I have to quit my job? No. 3 hours a week for 8 weeks, right? Just like you would, if you want to get results at the gym, you should probably go 3 hours a week, right? And less than that, you're probably not going to get results, right? So 3 hours a week for 8 weeks is usually what it is. It's we do it in 6 payments of $140 across 6 months. And for your community only, we're going to add some bonuses on top of what people normally get. So we're going to add for the JRC community, we're going to let people retake the boot camp absolutely for free. That means unlimited times where you can come back and retake the boot camp if there was an element that you didn't want to get, or you want to just stay in that gym and keep getting ripped, you get to come back. You get lifetime access to our mastermind group and our community. We're also going to hire and set up a virtual assistant at the end of the course for everybody from your community who's listening now who takes the boot camp. So that means if people are out there thinking that you've been interested in getting a virtual assistant, but you didn't want to search for one and evaluate them, we'll do that for you at the end of the course. And we're also going to offer an additional module on life hacking at home at the end, and a personal one-on-one check-in session in the middle of the 8-week boot camp with just me and you to actually get dialed in and make sure you're having a great experience. So that is on top of what anybody else gets, and that's just for the Jarrett community. So, like you said, Jarrett, where do they go to get this? www.lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. And as you said, it's going to be in the call notes here. So you can also check in the comment section or in the call notes or whatever to see for that link. I'm going to repeat it again. It's www.lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. And that's the link where you can go. Now, when they go there, I just want to be clear. When you go there, you're not going to be able to buy anything, right? That's the beginning where you can go take our free 1-hour webinar. It's a 1-hour masterclass. And the reason we want to make sure that people know what they're in for, that they're going to enjoy it and get the right results. So we give the first lesson totally free. So no matter what, even if you're just listening and going, oh, I have no intention, go ahead and grab the free content, take the free hour masterclass, and just go ahead and get that. It's going to teach you all about time blocking and show you how to 3x your time management and stay focused at work. So there's nobody who can't use that. And then at the very end, if you're still interested and you think, yeah, I definitely want to join this team, then you'll get that extra bonus. Now, I just want to be clear. The bonuses I just mentioned, if you go to just our regular site and take our regular webinar, you won't get those extra bonuses. So it has to be lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. And that's going to be the webinar and the masterclass that gets you the bonuses that are just for the Jarrett community.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
So I'd love to dive in, and we'll circle back around at the end in case you missed it, but I'd love to dive in if we could get specific in like what's maybe 1 to 3 tips that are very actionable, something right now. Someone listened this far, they're like, this sounds cool, I'm digging it, but I want to do something now.
Right now, yeah.
Exactly. And I was talking to someone earlier, John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur EO on Fire, very cool guy. And we were chatting, and he told me a little story, and I'll share this one more time here. It just is interest. And he said at the point when he got started, he was buying all kinds of audiobooks. And after so long, he started running out of money to buy audiobooks. They're $20 a piece.
Yeah, they're really expensive, actually.
But he needed education. He wanted education. He's like, there's got to be some podcast that does 7 days a week that I can listen to every single day that has invaluable content. And there was none. And it bugged him. So he became the 7-day-a-week podcast guy that delivers insights on entrepreneurs, stories, and strategies 7 days a week. It's amazing. And he said one of the coolest things is it gets to like 183 countries around the world. And it gets to people who don't have access to a library, can't really get online very often. They don't have the resources or education available to them. So, I imagine someone in the middle of India, Africa, someone in the middle of the U.S. who lives on a farm or maybe lives in the city but just doesn't have funds to go get access to great, solid information that can just rock their universe. If we were to spend a couple minutes to just nail down, here's 1 to 3 things you can do immediately.
Yep.
That if this is all you take away from this and this is what you go apply immediately, you will see an increase in productivity right now starting today.
Right this moment. You know what's great about that is... here's my analogy. Every single person listening right now is walking up a steep hill with like a huge boulder. And the second you decide to drop that boulder, everything becomes easier, right? And so a lot of people think about productivity as like, I have to develop some special ability. And in some cases you do, I'll be honest. In some cases you do. But for most of the people out there, you really just have to drop your boulder. And so what does that mean? This thing right here is the most complicated piece of processing technology that's ever existed. There's nothing that rivals it, right? And so the dropping the boulder in this analogy is get out of the way of your incredibly powerful brain. So what is in the way of your brain doing what it can do? And we already talked about this, but I'm just going to be really clear. Your phone is the biggest thing that is inhibiting your brain. So you said it yourself, and I'm just going to repeat it, but this is the honest answer. Take 20 minutes right after this call is done and turn off every single notification on your computer and on your phone. Just turn it off and call it an experiment. Do it for a week and see what happens. I promise you, nothing bad's going to happen. If people really need to get a hold of you, they'll figure out how to get a hold of you. They can still call you direct, right? If they don't get a hold of you for 40 minutes, they'll be fine, right? But what is going to happen, studies show, is that your brain, your brain on focus, I call it instead of your brain on drugs, I call it your brain on focus. Your brain on focus, studies show you work 55% faster. Studies show that you are happier with your work, and studies show that the quality of your work increases dramatically. So if you took 20 minutes right now to turn off all of your notifications and set a timer and just work for 30 minutes, 100% on just one thing. Don't let yourself get distracted. Don't let yourself get interrupted. You're going to immediately notice, studies show that you're going to be 55% faster. Your work quality is immediately going to increase, and you're going to be happier with your day at the end of the day. So the number one thing you can do is turn off notifications right now.
Very, very cool. So there it is. Instant productivity. I can tell you from experience, I've done this for, I don't know, a couple of years now. And it's always been something where my wife and I go back and forth and we tease each other. But you know, we keep technology out of the bedroom. Just stack on some random tips. Keep it out of the bedroom. Turn it off early. The truth is, my wife and I used to have this conversation of like, but what if there's an emergency at 2 a.m. and someone needs me?
Yeah.
And I always say, okay, where are these someones? And they're like other states apart from us. What in the world are you going to do at 2 a.m?
Yeah.
You're going to worry about it the rest of the night. You're going to stay up and be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. And I said, but if you get a great night's sleep, you wake up at 6 a.m, you go work out, you become your best self, then you pick it up and go, oh shoot, something happened. Now you can actually do something about it and be your best self in the process. Like you have something to offer versus, you know, I mean, carrying thoughts at 2 a.m, but not much more than that. And then you're not going to be a very great version of yourself when it comes to the start of the day.
Yeah.
So
can I add one more thing too for people? I mean, and I love it. I just want to throw this out to people. I want people to come off this call right now and be like, oh my God, just the 2 things they told us, 3 things were amazing. The other thing is have accountability in your life. If you don't have a coach, if you don't have a buddy or a mastermind group, you are experiencing yourself at a very small fraction of what you could be. I hope you would agree with that, Jarek.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, and in a lot of cases, I find that I have friends who are in a 12-step program, and just being in a 12-step program keeps them accountable to a level where they experience themselves at a much higher level. So whether it's a buddy of yours where you just have a 2-on-2 mastermind group and you decide what's going to get done this week and you hold each other accountable, or whether you join a mastermind group where you get coaching and you step up to the level you decide that you're coach worthy and coachable, or you join something like Lifehack Bootcamp where you join a team of 30 people where you get your own productivity buddy, and every single day, twice a day, we are holding your feet to the fire. Whatever that is, I think everybody who's listening right now knows that there's a version of them, if they split a version of them that was held accountable every single day for the next year, and they split off a version that wasn't, that version of them that continued forward with accountability would be smoking them. Just smoking your results.
Absolutely. So recap real quick, 3 steps. Number 1, turn off all distractions, anything that distracts you. And people like to say, but I have kids, or my mom or dad's older, blah, 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 blah. Here's a God honest truth. What would you do if you lived back in the day? You'd send a freaking letter or a mail pigeon. Like, they will get you the notice. Someone will show up at your door and let you know that something's going on. It doesn't need to be an instantaneous text to distract you from whatever's going on. They will find a way to get to you if it's absolutely necessary. And if you come with that belief and you're willing to shut off the distractions, you will instantaneously increase your productivity. Number 2, I'm not sure if this was your 2, but I'm going to take it as my 2. Get technology out of spaces that it doesn't belong. So not only shut it off, but get it out of spaces that takes away your ability to be present with the ones you love and care about. And it'll increase your productivity and it'll strengthen your relationships and strengthen your ability to just focus on what's most important in those moments. I think one thing that's funny is when you talk to people and say, hey, I challenge you to turn technology off at 7:00 every night. And you say, but what are you going to do with your time if you commit to doing that? And even really intelligent, smart people who are highly talented stare at you and go blank in the face because they're like, well, shoot, I don't know. I'm not going to go to bed till 10. That's, what is it, 7, 8, 9?
3 hours without technology.
3 hours. What am I going to do? And like, oh, shit. I mean, you could read a book. You could talk to another human being. You could go work out. You could go play a sport. You could hang out with your spouse. You could play a board game with your kids. I mean, there's endless things to do, but it's funny because our brain is so caught up in this stuff that has to happen, that we've forgotten all the cool stuff we could have done all these years. And so that thought, get it out of places it doesn't need to be, take a challenge to shut it off early, and really connect with the people and things that matter most. And then what was the final one we threw in there?
The final one is have accountability in your life.
Have accountability. So find that person you can connect with. Find the group you can connect with. Join a program like Lifehack Bootcamp that allows you to have accountability consistently, someone to hold you to the fire, and get the best version of who you are as a human being to show up. I did it personally just to share my own experience. Again, I read this stuff. We teach some of it lightly. We have a lot of fun with it. I'm always looking for ways to increase the performance for myself, for my clients, as far as coaching. And it's that thought of how do we help them maximize who they are. So I'm not uneducated on the topic. I'm very educated. And Demir and I actually had this call when we first started the boot camp. I'm like, bro, don't mean to burst any bubbles. I kind of teach this stuff on the side, but I'm excited to see what you got in here. And he assured me, he's like, this isn't teaching you anything new. You might learn a thing or two that you haven't heard of, but that's not the point. The point is to get you into motion and consistently get you to apply it. Yeah. So even if you're a genius and get all this stuff and have read all the books and teach the course and all that other jazz, this course is about pure application. Getting you 100% to apply consistently, hold yourself to the fire, have someone else there to do so, and it's amazing ROI for what it is. So for those of you out there who are interested and curious, go to lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC, was it?
JRC, you got it.
So lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link right below the video. If you're on my blog, it should be somewhere on the page. And if you're listening to the podcast, look for the show notes. It will be there as well. Or just remember lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. It's not that hard. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Hope you had fun with this. I'm going to throw the mic back to you one more time and say if you were going to leave a parting message with these people, they're definitely going to go. It's a free course they're going to go take. They're going to have an awesome intensive to learn all about the course. It's not a sign-up page. It's literally a free course page to go through what it is, how it works. Tons of great content in that intro course that's at lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. So it's a free gift from you to them. But if you were going to leave them with one memorable concept, one phrase, one thought, something that they could walk away with that you feel is an important message you would like to get from you to them, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I tell everybody. Is if you get nothing else from speaking to us, just remember this one simple thing. Productivity is a habit. It's governed by a completely different part of your brain than the part where you read books and learn stuff. So you can read 1,000,000 books. You could learn 1,000 things about productivity and walk to your desk tomorrow and put 0 of it to practice until you get your animal brain in the game and you start training yourself to think about productivity like you think about getting up in the morning and going to the gym. First 2 weeks it's hard. Then it becomes easier. Then you can't live without it. Then it happens automatically, right? Productivity can be automatic. It can be a habit. You can do it in a surprisingly fast amount of time. And I wouldn't even say that we are the only gatekeepers for you to get this done. You can do it yourself. It's going to take a lot more work and you might stumble, but just remember one simple thing and share it. Don't just remember it. Tell other people about it. Productivity is a habit, not a learned concept. You got to drill it.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you for sharing some of your journey with us. Thank you for sharing these insights. Remember, go to lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. Grab that free online training. Dig in. grab the information, apply it in your life, get some results. If the program's for you, go ahead and join. There's tons of free bonuses there. One more time, I had them written somewhere. Here they are. So they said they allow you to do in 6 payments of $140. Bonus number 1 was this is only for our community. Bonus number 1, you get to retake the bootcamp for free for unlimited times, and it starts every single month for 8 weeks. Bonus number 2, lifetime access to the bootcamp community. So all the awesome people you meet will be there to help hold you accountable and push you. Bonus number 3, hiring and setting up a virtual assistant at the end of the course if desired. This is huge. I have tons of clients who get to a point that say, hey, I'd love a virtual assistant. How do I get one? I say, hey, go to Odesk. Have fun. So, and many times what'll happen, they'll go interview 4 or 5 people, they'll find someone, it won't work out, and then they'll be like, I don't want to do that again. Screw it. I'll just do it myself. Yep. And so this is huge for them. These guys are pros at this. They will narrow it down. They will find them. They will get you a great person, which could be worth the whole investment alone if you're a business professional. Bonus, I don't know which one this is. I think it's 4. Additional module on life hacking at home, which is awesome. And then the final bonus is a personal one-on-one coaching session with Demir himself midway through the boot camp to really hold you accountable, make sure you're going great, and tighten up your systems as a whole. So go to lifehackbootcamp.com/JRC. Check this out. Have some fun learning some awesome time management tools. And we will see you on another episode of the Learn It, Live It, Give It podcast or JRC TV. Hope you have an amazing day. And thank you once again, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Jarek. Thanks for remembering you're here at Lifehack Bootcamp.